let's start with part 3. We just finished part 2. We will be resuming part 3 from where we stopped. So we are at macro consumers. What are macro consumers? Macro means big, right? Something you can see. So let's say big. They feed on plants and animals or both and are categorized on the basis of food sources. They feed both on plants and animals and are categorized on basis of their food sources. Macro consumers could be herbivores, could be secondary consumers, and carnivores. Herbivores are those organisms that mainly feed on plant matter, such as cow and rabbits. Secondary consumers feed on primary consumers, such as wolves. Carnivores are organisms that feed on secondary consumers primarily, are called tertiary consumers also, such as lions, who will eat wolves. Omnivores are organisms that eat both plant and animals, such as man, monkey. Scavengers are organisms that feed on dead and decaying matter. Next slide. Scavengers feed on carrion. Carrion basically means this dead or injured animal corpses. Alright, scavengers will feed on dead plants also, such as mushrooms feed on decomposing plants. Animals and decomposers will finish the job. Alright, we have different type of scavengers. Crow is type of scavenger, hyena, fox, jackal, condor, marabou stork, Tasmanian devil, wild boar, seagull, yellow jacket, raccoon, ant, fish, flesh fly, and dung beetle. So these are some you might want to remember. Micro consumers, these are basically bacteria and fungi which obtained energy and nutrients by decomposing dead organic substances, which is called detritus. Dead organic substances, it can be animal or plant in origin. Alright, it is called detritus. They feed on detritus. They feed on small microscopic bits of dead organic matter and convert them into inorganic nutrients. The products of decomposition, such as inorganic nutrients which are released in the ecosystem, are reused by products and thus recycled. So basically what is happening, they are feeding on microscopic bits of dead organic matter, alright, and converting them into inorganic nutrients. Now these inorganic nutrients can be used up by the ecosystem, right, which are released in the ecosystem, can be used by producers and thus recycled. Earthworm and certain soil organisms such as nematodes and arthropods are detritus feeders and help in decomposition. Alright, so parameter of comparison. Detritos and decomposers, will now learn the differences. The main difference, what could it be? Detritivores eat detrite. Detrite is dead plant and organic matter. Decomposers basically are scavengers and saprophytes. Metabolic process. Detritivores do not secrete any chemicals to decompose the substance, which means they directly eat or consume the substance. Decomposers, on the other hand, will release certain chemicals and certain enzymes to decompose dead organisms. Method used for degradation, they degrade different organisms directly through digestion, and these secrete enzymes and chemicals to secrete dead and decaying organisms. Alright. Organic matter consumption, these consume from organic matter from substance. They secrete an enzyme for the, basically it is saying the same thing over and over again. They are secreting an enzyme to digest organic matter. They consume organic matter. Alright, such examples are worms, crabs, flies, millipedes, basically anything that mostly has a mouth has come here. Smaller things like bacteria, fungi, and insects come here. Why? Because they might release enzymes to digest the organic parts and then they consume it. These will directly consume. That is the only key difference between them. Alright, now we have some examples of micro consumers. These are detritivore examples, also wood lice, earthworms, dung flies, and fungi. Now example of aquatic ecosystem. Cyanobacteria or blue-green algae are producers, and phytoplankton is also producers. Both gain both create carbohydrates through sorry both use photosynthesis to produce energy. Primary consumers are crustaceans, zooplankton, and small fish will eat these algae, and phytoplankton, these will be eaten by them. And secondary consumers will eat these zooplankton, small fish and crustaceans such as herrings, bigger fish and sharks. So this is an example of an aquatic ecosystem. Food chain. What is a food chain? It is a sequence of organisms that feeds on one another to form a chain, right? It is basically a chain. It is the process of transfer of food. It is also the process of transfer of food energy from green plants through a series of organisms with repeated eating and being eaten link. So basically it is how food is being transferred from where it is being produced, in green plants. Alright, arrows in a food chain represent flow of energy. We all know about it. Linear is unidimensional flow of energy. You have to remember that food chain is unidimensional, not directional. Detritus eaten by earthworms. Earthworm is eaten by, let's say, a mole or a rat. Here we have cabbages. Who eats cabbages? Caterpillars. Caterpillars are eaten by the thrush. Thrush is a type of bird. Now we have a food web. The dimension of a food chain was linear in nature. Now we have food web. Food web is a diagram or model that illustrates the interdependence of various organisms in the ecosystem, which means it will not be linear. It is showing off various organisms instead of one linear chain, showing the flow of energy and nutrients from one organism to another, how it is occurring. It is a representation of feeding relationships among different species in an ecosystem. Alright, that is also true. What is it? Among different species. Non-linear, yani multi-dimensional flow of energy. It is not shaped like a food chain. How is a food chain shaped? X gets eaten by Y, Y gets eaten by A. This was a food chain. So food web will not be like this, right? Complexity, more number of species, greater interactions, therefore the food web is more complicated. And also the food webs are more stable. Why are the food webs more stable? Think about it. It is a simple example. Let's say these are plants, right? And who is feeding on these plants? Let's say birds are feeding on these plants, and let's say this is a cat. So what happens if one of the links fail? Let's say birds start dying due to some mysterious reasons. The cats cannot directly eat plants, which will cause the cats to also perish. So it will cause a total collapse. So a food chain is basically what? It is not really that stable, not stable. Right, food chain is not stable. As a okay. In food web, we are not just following a linear pattern. One organism can consume other different organisms if one of them is missing. There is tertiary consumers: wolf, red fox, black bear. Secondary consumers: hawk, frog, raccoon. You can see that in here there are many chains. It is made up of a lot of food chains, we can say. So many chains. So the wolf can eat, if let's say the field mouse population does not perishes for some reason, then the wolf can eat frogs. If frogs also perish, it can eat raccoons. So basically it gives more options to the organisms. Alright, this is an example of a North American grassland and forest. It is a partial food web. Sun energy is being taken by the oak tree. Soil, water, nutrients. Oak trees feed field mouse, quail, beetle, squirrel, and it goes on and on. There are detritivores such as turkey, vulture, eagle, crow, decomposers such as bacteria and fungi. So it is forming more or less a closed chain. Food web collapse. It occurs when interconnected food chain of an ecosystem breaks down or fails to function. Like I said, that food web is basically made of a lot of food chain. If one of the food chains fail to function in a sustainable manner, right, it is called a food web collapse. This can happen due to number of factors such as climate, loss of key species, pollution and over exploitation by humans. A food web collapse can have serious consequences on entirety of the ecosystem, including loss of biodiversity. True, reduced productivity, and even ecosystem collapse. It could occur. There are some examples of food web collapse. Climate change could drive coastal food webs to bend to collapse. Children born today will see literally thousands of animals disappear in their lifetimes as global food webs collapse. This is mainly occurring due to climate change and pollution and human exploitation. We have ecological pyramids. What are ecological pyramids? They are graphic representation of trophic levels within an ecosystem. No problem. They show the relative abundance of biomass of different groups of organisms at each trophic level. What are they doing? They are showing the relative abundance or biomass of different groups of organisms at each level and the flow of energy and nutrients through the chain. Alright, no problem. Moving on. There is a law of 10% given by Raymond Lindemann. So Raymond Lindemann told us that from one trophic level to another only biomass will get transferred. Alright, no problem. However, not all energy obtained by the organism gets converted into biomass. When all energy losses are added, only about 10% of the energy entering one trophic level is available to the next trophic level. Because only 10% of the energy obtained is used to make biomass, therefore it is known as the 10% law. Alright, because of the 10% law, food chains have 5 or less links. Because 90% of the energy is lost at each level, the amount of energy available decreases very quickly. Alright, most of the energy loss in production of heat energy and movement from one place to another is occurred. Why is it occurred? Due to heat energy and movement from one place to another. Now we have a graph which shows us how it occurs. Let's say 1 million joules of sunlight is received by primary producers. Only 10,000 joules of it can be converted to biomass, from which primary consumers will eat it, and only 1,000 will be converted into biomass, and so on and so forth. In each level, as we are seeing, there is a 90% decrease. Right, there is a 90% decrease in each level. So if somebody asks why there are not usually more than 5 links in a chain, because at each level there is a 90% decrease. Alright, now we have another ecological pyramid diagram. First is the pyramid of numbers, the second is the pyramid of biomass, and the third is pyramid of energy. Ecological pyramids are graphical representations of trophic level within an ecosystem. We just read the line. They show relative abundance of biomass of different groups of organisms at each trophic level and the flow of nutrients through the food chain. Pyramid of energy. It is a graphical representation of flow of energy to the ecosystem. It is always upright. As you move up the pyramid, there is less energy available due to the 10% rule. The loss of energy is due to the law of thermodynamics also. Right. This is another pyramid of energy. You can see for yourself. The relevance of pyramid of energy. The food pyramid represents the flow of energy in an ecosystem, right? It represents the flow of energy in ecosystem. It illustrates the amount of energy that is transferred from one trophic level to another. Energy that is transferred from one trophic level to another in an ecosystem. The pyramid helps us understand the importance of primary producers and the limits to energy transfer in an ecosystem. It is a simple way to visualize the complex interaction between organisms and energy in the ecosystem. Now we have a pyramid of biomass. It is a graphical representation of living and dead living organic matter or biomass present in each trophic level of the ecosystem. It represents the relative amount of biomass at each level, with the largest biomass at the base and successfully smaller biomass at each level. It is not always a perfect pyramid, as it can be affected by factors such as size and turnover rate of organisms in each trophic level. Alright. Producers are the most, herbivores, then primary carnivore, then top carnivore. Alright. 12. In aquatic system, there is an inverted pyramid. Carnivores have highest biomass and producers have lowest biomass. Phytoplankton have a short lifespan. Zooplankton have a shorter lifespan. Small fish also have small lifespan. Shark have a very large lifespan. At one particular amount of time, the biomass at the lowest trophic levels are lower than that of the higher trophic levels. Hence, it is called an inverted biomass. It could be, as we are seeing, what could be the reasons? One reason could be that small organisms, autotrophs, in this case have very short life as compared to the trees that we have. Some trees grow 25 years, some tree goes hundreds and hundreds of years, such as the banyan tree. So autotrophs in aquatic systems have very short lives, which could decrease biomass. Pyramids of biomass. We have T1 herbivores, T2 herbivores, T3 secondary, and you can remember all this. Pyramid of number. The pyramid shows number of organisms at each trophic level. It's called pyramid of numbers. Simple. It indicates the number of individuals at each trophic level and is often shaped like a true pyramid, with the largest number of organisms at the base and decreasing in number as they move up. However, there are exceptions when it is not shaped like a true pyramid. See, 10,000 freshwater shrimp, 1,000 bleak, 100 perch, 10 northern pike, and 1 osprey. What is this? This is an aquatic environment. Freshwater shrimp is the highest population. Then there is bleak, there is perch, which is also a fish. Northern pike is a highly carnivorous fish, and osprey is very big carnivorous fish. So numbers are decreasing as we go up. Inverted pyramid of numbers in terrestrial ecosystem. Producers are most, primary consumers are least, primary consumers are more, and secondary consumers are highest. There is also in a spindle shaped, it could be the tree. Herbivores are more and carnivorous birds are very less in number. Bioaccumulation is the gradual accumulation of substances. It is the gradual accumulation of substances. It is the gradual accumulation of substances such as pesticides, right? What is happening? There is a gradual accumulation of substances such as pesticides and other chemicals in an organism. Alright. It occurs when an organism absorbs a substance at a rate faster than that which the substance is lost or eliminated by catabolism and excretion. Which means, what is bioaccumulation? Let's say there is a plant, okay, and we sprayed it with some pesticides. Wait, let me erase this. It's not looking good. So what is happening? Let's say in case of a plant, it is being sprayed with pesticides. So what is happening? It is absorbing some of the pesticides. The plant will absorb pesticide. So if this process, if this absorption happens faster than elimination of the substance, it is called bioaccumulation. Alright. So it means that it cannot be eliminated as quickly as it is being absorbed. So there is bioaccumulation, which means there is more storage of the particular pesticide or chemical inside the plant body. It is called bioaccumulation. Accumulation in the food chain. Microplastics are getting into mosquitoes and contaminating food chains. According to a researcher, there was evidence of beads in all stages of mosquitoes, although the number went down as the animals developed. Any flying insect that spends part of its life in water can become a carrier of plastic pollution, thus leading in biomagnification at higher trophic levels. Mosquito lifestyle: eggs, larvae, pupa, an adult mosquito. Alright. Difference between bioaccumulation and magnification. Sorry. Bioaccumulation takes place in a single organism. Yes, we were talking about just about a plant. Over the span of its life is called bioaccumulation, which results in a higher concentration in older individuals. Alright. Biomagnification takes place as chemicals transfer to higher trophic levels within a food web, resulting in higher concentration in apex predators. It is also a simple example. Let's say there is a kingfisher that is eating a lot of fish. Let's say it has eaten 100 fish in its lifetime. Each fish had plastic in it, microplastics in it, some amount of microplastic in it, let's say 0.0001 gram. So now the fish has around 1 gram, right? It has around 0.1 gram of microplastic in it, so it has been magnified. Now let's say there is a predator that eats kingfishers, so it will be eating a lot of kingfishers, hence hereby it will be accumulating more plastic than any of the individual organism possessed. So this is called biomagnification, and it is usually occurring, and usually the trend is the higher the predator is on the food chain, the more they are accumulating of the said substance. So this is biomagnification. When DDT enters aquatic bodies, it gets built up in the body of fishes. This is known as bioaccumulation. Alright. When fish are eaten by animals or higher trophic levels, concentration of DDT is increased at each successive trophic level. It is known as biomagnification. So what is happening? Fish, let's say 100 fish eaten by 10 kingfisher, eaten by 1 fox. Alright. So here the total per fish content, per fish DDT was, let's say 1. Here it will be, at this level it has become 10,000, right? So per kingfisher DDT is how much? It is 100. So per fox DDT is 1,000. So that, what are we seeing? A growth in concentration, therefore biomagnification. It is also known as bioamplification, biological magnification. It is increase in concentration of a substance, example a pesticide, in tissues of organisms at successfully higher levels of the food chain. This can occur as a result of persistence, where substance cannot be broken down by the environmental processes, like plastic. Plastic cannot be easily broken down by environmental processes. Food chain energetics, when substance concentration increases progressively as it moved up in a food chain. So any substances concentration which increases progressively is called food chain energetics. Okay, definition remember: low or non-existent rate of internal degradation or excretion of the substance, mainly due to water insolubility, is also a reason. Here are the same here is an example that I gave, that I think I taught you, so you can also read from here and understand what is happening. Substances that biomagnify, they are long lived, they have to be long lived, they have to be mobile, which means they cannot be fixed somewhere, they have to move, they have easily movable, they have to be soluble in fats, and non-biodegradable. Examples are chlorinated hydrocarbons such as organochlorines, inorganic compounds like methyl mercury, and persistent organic pollutants. DDT was used to kill mosquitoes, added up in bald eagle populations, leading to their eggshells being crushed. This was written by Rachel Carson in her book The Silent Spring. It rained cats in Borneo, explained in class. Minamata disease caused by mercury bioelimination in shellfish in the Minamata Bay, eaten by local populace, leading to mercury poisoning. is a famous example. Diclofenac and eagle crisis. This is somewhat related to actually what was happening, that cattle when they fell ill were being fed diclofenac. Alright, cattle were being treated with diclofenac with DFC. Okay, so when they used to die, the vultures used to eat them. What happened, that the vultures kept accumulating diclofenac, and it is really poisonous for vultures, so it ended up causing an crisis in the vulture population. Now we have biomagnification. Byproduct 1 eliminated the natural predator for thatch eating caterpillar. Overpopulation of caterpillars. Caterpillars ate the roof of a village's house. We did DDT. Examples of biomagnification, we have to actually begin from here. Ignore what I said. So original purpose was to use kill mosquitoes which cause malaria. It accumulated in geckos. Cats are known to be eating geckos, and because cats died, rat population flourished and an outbreak of plague happened. Alright. It also killed parasitic wasps. What happened, there was an overpopulation of caterpillars which ate the roof of villages' houses. Biomagnification, more examples such as this one: volcano, coal plant, mercury mine, methyl mercury. Methylamine mercury caused food. Small fish which could eat mercury particles were eaten by bigger fish, and this fish was eaten by humans, which caused mercury poisoning, also known as the Minamata disease. One of the most popular man-made natural disasters. Mercury poisoning. Traces of diclofenac and its derivative compounds have been found in carcasses of vultures across India and its neighboring countries. It is known that biomagnification of diclofenac for consumption of infected domestic animal carcasses contributes to vulture mortality. I have explained this just a few slides earlier. So biotic interactions. What is biotic? Between living organisms, perhaps. So interactions between two living organisms is biotic interactions. You can read this definition. The interactions can be positive, negative and neutral. Alright. They can affect the distribution and abundance of the species and structure of the communities and functioning of the ecosystems. So depends on how it is, if it is positive, negative and neutral. So we are seeing, let's say, symbiosis is a positive interaction. Mutualism is also a positive. Competition is negative because either of the organisms will start to eat into the other's populations. Parasitism is positive for one organism and negative for the other. Protocooperation is also positive. Commercialism is positive for one and neutral for the other. Predation is positive for one, the predator, and not negative for the prey. And amensalism is negative for one and neutral for the other. So these are a few examples. So yes, amensalism. Species 1, there is negative impact. Species 2, neutral impact. The most powerful animal or large organisms inhibit the growth of lower organisms. For example, cat and rat. Alright. Mutualism, interaction favorably to both between crocodile and bird. Alright. Communalism, there is a positive for one and negative neutral for the other. This is a sucker fish on sharks. What does it do? It helps them from not being attacked. Alright. Population 1, the commensal benefits, while 2, host is not affected. Competition, direct inhibition of the other, negative impact on both. Birds which compete with squirrels for nuts and seeds. Parasitism is basically a parasite smaller than the host, such as ascaris and tapeworm in human digestive tract. Predation is a predator and a prey, so lion predatory on a deer. Alright. Mutualism. It is a type of interaction where both species benefit from the interaction. It highlights interdependence of species in an ecosystem working together to enhance the chances of survival, reproduction, and help maintain the balance of the ecosystem. Alright. Mutualism. Ants provide safety and aphids provide food, and ants provide safety, transportation, and food. Symbiosis is a type of biotic interaction between two or more species living in a close association with each other. Sym means together and biosis means living. Symbiosis can take different forms, and not all symbiotic relationships are mutualistic. Symbiotic relations can also be parasitic, in one species benefits at the expense of the other, while others are commensal, in which one species benefits without affecting the other. Alright, there are two types of living together. Symbiosis. We know about nitrogen fixing bacteria that lives in the roots of legumes, which converts nitrogen from the air into nitrogen, that is nitrogen compounds that gets absorbed by the soils, which can be used for the growth of the plant. Protocooperation is a type of interaction between two species that is not yet fully mutualistic but represents the early stage of mutualism. So what does proto mean? Proto basically means primitive. Okay, it can mean primitive, it can mean original, it can mean first. Alright, it can mean earliest. So primitive and earliest, proto. So proto cooperation is a type of interaction between two species. It represents earliest stage of mutualism. Alright, for proto cooperation, two species interact in a way that benefits both, but the relationship is not fully developed and dependent on each other. Over the time, the relationship may evolve into more symbiotic and mutualistic one. Proto cooperation, in it, interaction is temporary. Once the interacting organisms get advantage, they separate, which means they do not live together all the time. So it is not really living together. What can we say? It is living together for short time. Alright, living together for short time. Survival is not the issue. It is not for survival. That is why they are not sticking with each other, right? Plants and pollinators are protocooperatic. Pollinators that may feed nectar on plants, but they also inadvertently transfer pollen from one plant to another, benefiting the plant's reproductive success. Commensalism. Commensalism is when two or more species are mutually associated in activities centering on food, and one species at least derives benefits from the association, while the other associates are neither benefited nor harmed. Alright, such as barnacles. Barnacles are benefiting from the whale by sticking upon the whale, but the whale is neutral, right? Whale is not benefiting. Whales neutral, no problem. Barnacles are benefiting. Plus 0. Now move on to predation. In form of interaction, one animal kills another. It is the most simple form of you can say interaction between two organisms. Specialized predators are adapted to hunt only specific few species. Lion and deer exhibit predator-prey relationship, where lion is predator, deer is prey. The type of interaction helps in transfer of energy up the trophic levels and is essential strategy in population regulation. Alright, it does both. It takes energy to the upper levels, it also helps in population regulation. So we should remember these two terms. It helps in population regulation and helps in transfer of energy up the trophic level. This is an example of predator. This is cheetah chasing a gazelle. Parasitism. It is harmful interaction where one species is gaining and the other is being used without any benefit, rather a loss. The parasite benefits at the expense of the host. The parasite derives shelter, food, cooperation from the host, and parasite exhibits adaptations. So basically, parasites are also adapted to hosts, right? Not all parasites can acquire all hosts. For example, this is an example. What is this? If we look at it, it is a caterpillar, right? It is a caterpillar. What has happened here is a wasp. There is a wasp called Cortesia congregata. These are basically larvae of Cortesia congregata wasp. Alright, you can see an image of it. If you want, I can show you. Wait 1 second. Cortesia congregata. This is the image of the wasp. Alright, this is the wasp. This is a Cortesia, almost looks like a cricket. This is a Cortesia congregata. This is a side view which will tell you it really is a wasp. It is actually hemiluce, it is not that. So whatever, it looks like this, and what it does is it lays eggs. It lays eggs. Inside the caterpillar. Then these eggs will, after hatching, will feed on the caterpillar's internal juices. When it emerges from the cocoon, the larvae spin cocoons and pupate. The caterpillar will die after the larvae will emerge. Biological control. Cortesia congregata are beneficial as they control caterpillar populations in garden and agriculture. So it is a positive negative relation. This is a caterpillar. Let me just write it. Sorry, I've already written it, so I don't think there is a need to write it. Correct. Wait a second. Alright, no problem. Parasitism. It may be viral parasites which affect plant and animals, microbial parasites such as bacteria, protozoa, fungi, phytoparasites, plant parasites, zooparasites, animal parasites such as platyhelminthes, nematodes and arthropods. Parasites may exhibit or attach to the surface of the host, called ectoparasite, lice, head lice, leech, which we have known about, and some which live inside the body are called endoparasites, which means internal parasites. There is ascariasis and tapeworm. Competition. It refers to the type of interaction with individuals of species of different species, individuals of a species or members of different species, vie for limited availability of food, water, nesting space, cover, mates and other resources. When resources are in more than adequate demands, the organism seeking them, competition does not occur, which means what has to happen, limited availability should happen so that these conditions are met for competition. But when inadequate to satisfy the needs of organisms seeking them, the weakest, least adapted or least aggressive individuals are forced to face challenges. Interspecific competition is basically a type of interaction where 2 or 3 species compete over a limited resource pool. The competition occurs between 2 different species that share the same resource requirements. Alright, they have to have the same resource requirements or else Geiger competition. For example, lions and hyenas may compete for access to prey species. This occurs. You might have seen a lot of documentaries on Discovery. They are always competing for food. or two species of tree may compete for sunlight and nutrients also occurs. Interspecific competition between tiger and lion, it is not really, there is no interspecific competition between a tiger and a lion, because there are no habitats currently on earth where the lion and tiger are basically head to head with each other or share a habitat with each other. So it is basically, you can do it, lion and hyenas is a good example. Lion and tiger is not our example. Intraspecific competition on the other hand is interaction within individuals of the same species. This can also occur, right? The competition occurs within a species and it can be intense, especially when resources are scarce. So basically here you are seeing two dogs are fighting, wild dogs are fighting over deer meat as to who gets to eat it. Plants may compete for water and nutrients in the soil, and animals may compete for mates or nesting sites. Alright. Amensalism. It is an ecological interaction with individual species harm another without obtaining benefit. So why it is just harming, it is not even gaining any benefit. In amensalism, the species that is negatively affected is called the victim. Alright, it is called the victim. Negative effect occurs in several ways. Such as release of chemicals or other substances so that are toxic or inhibitory to the victim species, or through physical interference with the victim's ability to access resources. Amensalism. A large tree shades a small plant, retarding the growth of the small plant. Small plant has no effect on the large tree, so the large tree is not benefiting. Right, the large tree is not benefiting. And the small tree is not benefiting. The small tree is having a negative effect. So that is an example of amensalism. Let's see if I can solve these questions. Which of the following is the best description of the term ecosystem? A community of organisms interacting with each other. The flora and fauna of a geographical area is an ecosystem. The part of earth which is inhabited by living organisms, this is a biosphere as far as we know. Yes, this is a biosphere. We have to know the exact definition so that you can, this is a biosphere. A community of organisms living in the environment in which they live is can it be called an ecosystem? I think it is an ecosystem. Flora and fauna of a geographical area. Let's see. Let's move to 23. Which of the following terms describe not only the physical space occupied by an organism but also its functional role in the community of organisms? Alright, not only physical space but functional role. It is not habitat. Alright, it is not home range, it is not ecotone, it is ecological niche as far as. So 2 ka B. Moving to the third question. Which of the following is the current sequence in a food chain? Diatoms are primary, so this and this can occur. Crustaceans eat diatoms, and herrings are bigger fishes, so I think A. 3A. With reference to food chain in ecosystems, consider the following statements. A food chain illustrates the order in which a chain of organisms feed upon each other. True. Food chains are found within population of species, are found within population of a species. So this is wrong. Food chain illustrates the number of each organisms which are eaten by the other. Not really. No. So I think one only. So 4A. 5. So wait. Let me also write it down somewhere so that I can check. I have written 1C. Right. 1C, 2B, 3A, 4A, 5 I've not seen, which in the reference to food chain and ecosystems, which are the following kind of organism is known as a decomposer organism, which is a decomposer. Fungi is a decomposer organisms, and bacteria can also occur as decomposers. So we can go with 2 and 3 only. So 5B. Which of the following are detritivores? Earthworms are detritivores, millipedes are detritivores, wood lice are also detritivores. So 1, 3 and 4. Is 1, 3 and 4 anywhere? So let's see somewhere where there is 1, 3 and 4. 1, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it should be this. So I think it should be all. Okay, so we have 6D. 7. Consider the following organisms: copepods, cyanobacteria, diatoms, foraminifera. Primary producers in the food chain, I think cyanobacteria and diatoms are primary producers. Copepods, I don't know. So it is 2 and 3 in my opinion. 7B. Last question: which of the following species can establish symbiotic relationship? Fungi, no, it is a detritivore. Cnidarians, probably. Protozoa, probably. So it is 1 and 3. There are some fungi that establish symbiotic relationships. I will go with 1 and 3. But in such questions, UPSC usually goes for the largest possible answer. So we should go with 1, 2 and 3. So the question is 8 and answer is D. Let's check. 1 is C, ecosystem. 2 is ecological niche, 2 out of 2. 3 is A, 3 out of 3. 4 is also A, so 4 out of 4. 5 is 2 and 3 only. 5 is B, so we are 5 out of 5. Detritivores is 1, 3 and 5 only. Oh, so we were correct. We were correct with 1, 3 and 5, but the numberings were wrong. So we were correct. So it is 6 out of 6. But we did move on to the wrong option. So let's say 5 out of 6. 7, we did 2 and 3. 7, we gave answer B. So it is 6 out of 7. Last one, establish. The answer is D. Like I said, usually UPSC in such questions will go for the largest possible option. So we scored more or less a full marks out of the first PPT. So now we will be this is the last session for the first PPT. We will be beginning the next session for the second PPT in the evening. Thank you, and if you have any doubts or anything that you did not understand, please write in the comment section below.